ask you a question? I said, sure. He says, I would reckon, everybody say, reckon. I would reckon you ain't from around these ports, are you? I said, no, sir, I'm not. He says, well, let me give you a word of advice. Down here in these parts, when a man says how do, all you got to do is say how do back. And I was like, how do? So I'm how doing everybody. And I get out of that store as quickly as I can. I go to the college, and I major in wildlife biology, fish and wildlife management, with a minor in zoology. And it was the most scary, incredible thing in my life, because I come back home, and I tell my dad, I said, Dad, I can't go. He says, what are you talking about? I said, sir, I said, Dad, I said, there's no black people. I'm in the wildlife biology, and my uncle, I had a very negative uncle. My uncle, he's like a failed pimp. So he shows up, he says, young brother, let me tell you something, man. He says, you shouldn't do that because black people don't do that. I said, Uncle, what are you talking about? He says, there's only one black man in the woods, and his name is Smokey the Bear. So, I was like, get away from me, So you got to be very careful who you listen to. So the truth, I could not, I couldn't make it up if I wanted to. So my brother, Victor, he pulls me to the side. My brother says, look, Mark, he says, let me tell you something. He says, sometime in life, in order for you to go where you want to go, sometimes you have to go where you've never been. And he made me go to college. 9th grade education, 22 years of age, scared to death. No money, just a little beat-up Pinto, packed up with clothes and everything that I own. I went down to a small college called Hocking College in a small country town called Nelsonville, Ohio, and I majored in fish and wildlife management with a minor in zoology. And somehow, because of what you've been able to instill in me and kids like me, I became very resilient because I did not want to fail. And I became a 2-time academic All-American, and I graduated top of my class, and I became a wildlife technician. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to tell you what's possible, because the probability of me doing that is impossible. I was working at deer check-in stations. You know what they do with deer check-in stations? You identify a deer by its teeth. Anybody who hunts in here knows what I'm talking about. So I'm hunting turkey and rough grouse and and it's crazy. So I'm doing all these big wildlife management plans, and all of a sudden I run into these kids. And I said, you know what? I want to make a difference in the life of kids. And I started talking to these kids and doing volunteer work. So I had to do a practicum. So I do this practical with these foster kids. And we started loving each other and understanding each other. And all of a sudden I got this epiphany that wildlife was just the vehicle to get me to my greater purpose, and that was to make a difference in the lives of others. And my counselor said, well, Mark, you've got one degree. You need to go back to school. You need to study for communication. So I went to Ohio University and got a degree in organizational communication with emphasis on management, leadership, organizational management and leadership. And I started my business, and it's just kind of taken one step after the other. Then here I am. Not a pretty miraculous story, but I'm here because somebody cared. I'm here because somebody said that I could. Because, see, the perception of what it is that we do simply means that we have to watch what we focus on. Now, can anybody tell me what this is? What is it? This is a cube. So do you think that in order for us to exceed in life and excel, should we think inside the box or outside the box? Outside. But sometimes we should take the box completely away and paint our own Picasso. But in order for us to really help kids, I want you guys to focus on this first square right here, okay? Focus on that first square right there, and if you focus on it long enough, the box will shift. When the box shifts for you, I just want you to raise your hand. It will move. There it goes, there it goes, there it goes. Pop, 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 like popcorn, boom, boom, boom. And there it continues to go. Isn't that amazing? It shifts only when I told you that it could. For our kids to be successful, sometimes in their minds something will shift. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow. But one day, if you can get them and be patient enough with them and help them to understand what's possible, their reality in their box will shift for them.